quarterback position. Obviously, that's a big reason there's so much optimism here. I know it's the other side of the ball, but what does Tajh Boyd bring to this team?
It's a leadership and a respect factor, that what he's done to lead our team, He was a warrior in that game. As a defensive coach, you're trying to help your guys get ready for the next series and what you're doing. See very little of the game. And until you have a chance as a coach to sit down and watch that, you'll realize what that guy did, He was a warrior. He got the ball off and got hit sometimes. And Coach Caldwell's guys and those guys did a heck of a job in that game, but that guy was a true warrior. He was a winner in that game. And I think that's what he does. He brings a winning mentality. He's used to winning. He wants to win, and he brings that to the whole team. So he just brings a magnetism to the whole room. Guys still walk in the room and go speak to 10 people before he ever sits down, that kind of thing. And that's a team meeting. That's not just walking into you guys. He goes see 10 of his teammates or us, if we've not been around for a while, day to day. So he brings that. He has a leadership quality, which you need at that position, obviously, but that's what he brings. I think he's a winner, he's a competitor, and that breeds on everybody because you're in practice, and he's not going to back up to Grady Jarrett. He don't care. Sometimes he'll say, "Hey, we need you healthy," but he's going to compete.
Have you been around other quarterbacks like that?
Yeah, and people don't know. He's a totally different guy, and he wasn't a runner or any kind of thing. But I don't know if I've ever been around anybody more competitive than Peyton Manning. He'd do it sitting at this table. He'd be trying to figure out if he's two reporters how he's getting ahead of the other guy sitting right here. He'd lock the other quarterbacks out of the room so he could be there with David Cutcliffe by himself. But he was very, very competitive. So you have been around, and that's the thing about it, coaching football all these years. You're never going to be a great team without that good quarterback. You may be a good team, but if you got a quarterback, it gives you a chance to do, and that's what Tajh brings right now.
Does he have that?
He's gotten himself to that status.
Does he have that same sort of ultra competitiveness that
he does? I don't know as much off the field, but he does on the field all the time, and that's just another guy when you ask about another guy. And been around a lot of great players. T. Martin, when he took over at Tennessee, everybody they're going to play off the field and quit playing because Peyton's gone. And, we go out and win the national championship. Very competitive guy and a leader guy. So you've been around those guys, but Tajh Boyd brings a lot.
In that same vein, 4th and 16, Coach Sweeney's using it as a buzz phrase, but in your mind, that play and when that team in that season, is that a building block for everybody?
Absolutely, because when you convert right there, feel like, hey, we're going to win this thing. We don't mess this up. We're going to win this thing. It was such a confidence boost for the whole football team, not only the guys on the field. I think just listening to Chad and Coach Sweeney, I'm not involved in that because we're back there worried about our guys. But our job was to get them stopped and get the ball back. We were able to do that. Well, right now they turn around. All of a sudden it's 1, 2, 3. We gave up a sack, whatever happened, long yardage. But the confidence of the football team that our staff listen to them, this is what we feel like we can get done. 4th and 16, you convert right away. We got a chance. We got to win this thing. So I think you do. All those are all things that you take and use in an off season as springboards to another season. It is. It's a whole new football team. They got to go on. They can't live on that, but you use it because there's a lot of good things. And that play, that defining moment was a lot of that football team.
In your experience, how does that rank? Just one play?
Right up there at the top with any of them. That when you've been part of a national championship, which a lot of guys on our staff have, and that kind of thing, you look back at things that you feel like, at Tennessee in a national championship season, you play in Arkansas. We had no business winning that game, that defining play, but 4th and 16 against a team like LSU, knowing Coach Chavis and the defensive staff there, and how good it is, that's one of those things you'll remember whenever you're done, you know, whenever I'm done, that's one of those to look back on.
Talk about.
Yeah.
Do you have the depth, enough depth to do what you want to do with your group?
We feel like we do. And we recruited to that. We recruited hard. Guys have really worked at developing. I feel like we do. We can rotate guys, not let anybody just get blasted, not let anybody get tired. And they've worked competing enough because you have two deals. The guy needs to be good enough to play, but if the other guys aren't comfortable that he can keep up the same level, they don't want to come out of the game because they feel like they're letting the team down. If the next guy coming in is not going to hold up that end, they don't really want to come out. So they'll go more than they should before they tap out or you take them out of that. They don't want to come out. So that's the good part is they have confidence now that this guy can go play. The next guy can go play. So Coach Hobby could tell you the same thing about his guy. That's where you have to get to, and I feel like they are.
This group right from end to end is athletic and what kind of flexibility is that?
They do. We've had recently, like I say, you always draw on the past and that kind of thing, but when you have a team that you got 4 or 5 tackles, you got 4 or 5 ends, and if somebody's tired, you put the other one in there, and it's like the first team. That makes you feel good about it. But they are as athletic a group as we've had. Guys that can run, guys that have really worked at the strength development part, and knock on wood, they've been able to stay healthy. I think a lot because of that. The more you get tired, the more liability you take on as you're going to get injured. So I think that helps. So it is an athletic group, and we're excited about it because you have guys that in some pass rush situations. You have guys, Corey Crawford's, even a Shaq Lawson coming in as a freshman. You have guys that can go inside if you want to just put more speed, that kind of thing on the field. Boris Barnes has been inside with me, so we've done a lot of that in the past. And this summer I talked to a couple of guys, Turkey McBride, Sean Ellis, that they still tell you that's one of the best things happening because first happens, the men don't much want to go in there. They don't think that's their deal. But when they go on and play, that's what's going to happen to them. They realize that's some of the best things that happen. So we have that right now, I think. And so that will prove out as we go along, but I think we're starting to develop that.
Do you see circumstances where in a lot of situations, is it more just to keep guys fresh unless you're facing an unusual scheme?
That's a lot, with the coordinator and that and the game plan. There's some guys more suited to particular things, but as we just start, it will be very much just, get reps, try to play guys against the same people so you can truly evaluate. Because if it's me and you competing, and then I put the next guy against a whole different guy, that's not really apples and apples. That's what I try to do in camp, is to play those guys all with this unit, give them their chance there, see how they perform. And so that's a big part of that. But I think it's a lot game plan. It's a lot against LSU. There were some things we wanted to make sure that we had a grade in the game. We would have had. So that's something y'all don't really see that much about. There's some situational stuff with pass rush stuff that you want to make sure you got a big Beasley there, that kind of deal. So you have some of both with what you're talking about. But that gets into game plan and a lot as you go along, and what kind of offense you're playing.
Do you have a guy yet who could do that, one of those D tackles to be a rainmaker, influences offenses more than just giving a good push?
If we got one, I don't know that we've got a John Henderson that I had that won the outline or that. Grady probably approaches it just because he plays the game so hard. He makes them worry about where he is. That's what you want to be. I try to tell them all the time. You want to be disruptive. That the offensive coordinator's got to say, how are we going to get that guy blocked? And even in the NFL, I had guys tell me that offensive line coaches and offensive coordinators would commit 2 or 3 guys to try to get Albert Haynesworth blocked. And he was in his head. Well, that's what you want to be. So probably the closest to that is, and we don't have that yet, would be a Grady just because of his competitiveness strength, pad level, the whole package. That would be the closest to that.
You've been part of a program that's won a national title. How do you approach it with your guys, managing expectations with a year like this, where you guys are starting in the top 10 most likely and have all these high expectations on you as a program? How do you approach that with your guys and be ready?
I've always, been told, and old Clemson guy, Charlie Pell, coach your best players the hardest. Don't let them get to where they're full of themselves and that. Keep them humble. That's the good part with this group is they've done a good job with that with themselves and holding each other to that. But that's one thing I think that what you're saying is you gotta, as a coach, keep them humble. Sometimes when the time to pat them on the back is not when they did good. But, when they maybe didn't do good and they're expecting the wrath and hey, I know you can do better than that, rather than, patting them on the back all the time, they get to thinking they've arrived. So of all the things that could be bad for us is to think that we've arrived. And that's what we as coaches have got to keep them focused on is it's a whole new team, it's a whole new season, and let's go build on what we've done, like I've said a number of times this morning.
Is it overstated at all what having Georgia, a team like Georgia, for the first opponent means to maybe an increase in intensity over camp as opposed to opening with a heavy underdog?
I don't think it is overstated, just because I think you'd love for young people not to know the name of the team, not to know show up and play the same way. It's just not human mentality. Doing it a long time, it's just not the way it is. So there's definitely that deal in spring practice. And this all-season training, what they're doing right now, when we start practice August 2nd, they know what that first one's about. And I said that earlier. We don't have any preseason games. We don't have a high school scrimmage. We don't have an NFL preseason. We go on national TV. Here it is. This is what we are. So they know they got to prepare. So I think it is definitely, and a lot of it is their mentality of how much they respect that opponent. And you want them to respect every opponent, but they respect Georgia more because they saw Georgia play in their bowl game and do well. They saw Georgia go to the SEC championship game. So there is that respect factor that we got to be prepared when we get there. It can't be overstated. It's big time important. We as coaches sometimes, kind of scary, especially like a year ago when you go open with Auburn in the Dome on national TV and you got a bunch of defensive linemen in diapers. That's scary. But it can't be overstated, I don't think. It is important that they see, hey, we got to get ready in a hurry.
Are Jared and Watson, are they both locked, stock, and barrel? I mean, starting if especially Watson, if they didn't start the year as the starters, or do you have a few guys that you think that can be?
No, I mentioned that earlier, and you probably weren't over here yet, but I got 5 guys that I feel like from the fall, going through spring practice, what they're doing in the off season, that I don't know who's going to walk out there first. If I had to say I got one that will, and I told the players the same thing, it would be Grady Jarrett. Because of what he did in the season. For a defensive tackle as a sophomore to be the MVP of your defense, he did a lot. But that doesn't guarantee him anything either. He had to go to spring practice. He had to go to the off season. And he's done that. He's approached it as if he's trying to get better, as he's trying to be good. So that other one, Josh has done some really good things. Deshaun's done some really good things. DJ's done some good things. Carlos has come on. My guys tell me all the time, when they're running this summer, Carlos outrun all of them. Here's a guy that's 6'5", 298 pounds, And so I've told him, no, that's up for grabs. If we had to go play tomorrow, I'd tell you that Grady would start, but I'm not sure who the other one would be. Now, Josh has done some things to deserve it. Deshaun's done some good things. DJ, he's not confident to sit there. If Scott Pagano's the best guy, he's going to play. As far as we have locked in 2 starters, that's not the case.
Dabo was talking about